Good morning. Let's have a little sweet and sour news, guys. Sweet news is Shawn, six-pack Shawn Ayton, has lost 23 pounds since starting this walking journey with us. And Shawn, I am so proud of you. Today you left a comment stating that you went to your doctor's and he was shocked to find out you were no longer pre-diabetic. And when he asked you, Shawn, what's your secret sauce? What are you doing different? Shawn told him, hey, I'm walking 7 days a week. Shawn, that is awesome. That is the best comment ever. Thank you for investing your time into Walk, Talk, Vent and deciding to give it a try. Shawn, was there a piece of you that when I first started showing videos and you first started watching, was there a piece of you that said, that sounds a little too easy, this isn't gonna work? Were you surprised at how fast something slow and wimpy like walking could be so powerful over time, right? And so quick, even though it seems like the slowest way. 23 pounds to go from pre-diabetic numbers to absolutely no longer pre-diabetic. Shawn, that is awesome. Wouldn't that be cool if we just kept this up forever and we ended up adding a decade or so to your lifespan? Holy moly, Shawn, I've got chills. That is just amazing. Great job, Shawn. Every single person, let's put a great job, Shawn comment down there. That is awesome, Shawn. Shawn, I pinned your comment. That might be the first ever pinned comment you've gotten. Woo! I need to schedule a lab work with him so I can go ahead and see if my numbers have improved. Here's the cool thing. I know they have, because I'm no longer eating nearly as much sweet stuff. I'm eating a lot of oatmeal. I'm walking 2 or 3 times a day, drinking nothing but water. And it kind of makes you wonder, Shawn, why the heck didn't we think to try this sooner? Shawn, what if you would have started doing this when you were in your 30s, right? You would never have any need for Walk, Talk, Vent, right? Makes you wonder, but man, I've got a smile from ear to ear. That is the best news ever, Shawn. Great job. Way to be a venter for life. We love it. Great news. Keep it coming. Before I hit on the sour news, let me just say this to the people that might be listening to my words right now. There is absolutely no reason why you can't take your pre-diabetic numbers and eliminate them as well. There's no reason why you can't shock the pants off of your doctor. If his pants do get shocked off, turn around and let him put his pants back on. Insist that he puts his pants back on. But the main thing is there's a lot of us that are having that pre-diabetic type situation. Why don't we all get rid of it just like Shawn decided to do? I don't know if Shawn had a talk with his doctor. I don't know if his doctor said, your numbers are pre-diabetic, maybe watch what you're eating, maybe exercise a little bit more. Sometimes doctors just kind of keep it vague. But Shawn, you came up with an excellent game plan. I'm gonna hit this problem every single day, and I'm not gonna stop at a 30-minute walk. I'm gonna apply extra credit. And Shawn, I don't know if you're applying extra credit every single day. You probably still have an occasional day where all you have is a half hour to walk. Maybe you could let us know. On another note, what I heard today about the storms in North Carolina saddened me. Apparently, every single county in North Carolina is affected by these floods and by this storm damage. I've never heard of such a thing. Every single county across the entire state. Guys, if there's ever been a national emergency, it's in the Carolinas. That is crazy. And I believe they said North Carolina, so I don't know if South Carolina's in that same situation or if they're talking about both states, the Carolinas in total. But either way, I think we can agree that for the whole state to be in that scenario where the storm damage is just incredible, That sounds like a horrific experience. And apparently the people that have perished, it's up there. I believe I heard last that the last number I heard was 133. If you've heard a different number that's higher, maybe let us know. If you've heard the same number, then so be it. But man, that is a real tough deal. Very tough deal. That has got to be the worst storm that I think I've ever seen in my life, from the standpoint of they were showing that there's no way to get to these areas even by boat. Because how do you boat over logs and a bunch of downed trees? I mean, it literally looks apocalyptic. I don't think in my life I've ever seen that much storm damage. And to have all these people missing. Does anyone else agree with me that it's not that the 133 victims that have lost their lives isn't shockingly horrible? It's the fact that they have thousands of people missing. God, I feel like we should be watching FEMA just encircling the state, and I feel like 24/7, like we should be watching the TV and watching people getting rescued. But instead, it's kind of the opposite. We just get little pieces of information here and there. Guys, they're dealing with a real nightmare out there. I think we've also heard that on the East Coast, they're starting to have this port worker strike. And they showed a guy today that just tried driving into the area, and apparently they blocked him off. I think he was a trucker of some sort. They break his window and they cut his face. They show him with a big line of blood today. And it's like, hey, if you're on strike along with pretty much every other port worker, I think you can still let things go on. It's not going to be able to go on without you. I don't think there's any need to physically harm other people. But apparently this port worker strike is one where all the workers want an extra 77% pay raise in addition to other demands they want. One of the demands is they want a stop on automation. So you know how you hear all these stories talking about how artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and these type of programs are going to eliminate the need for programmers in the future? Well, apparently the port dock workers agree, and they're like, hey, no more automation. We want us to be able to do this. Which is really interesting, because it sounds like what they're trying to do is it sounds like they're trying to stop the future from happening. And that's going to be a hard deal. I think what's going to happen is I think people are going to break down. I think we're going to give them their raise. And then I think they're going to experience massive layoffs. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but it seems like the same story all the time. What happens is they go on strike, the strike ends, the workers end up getting exactly what they want, and then a third of them end up getting laid off a couple of months later. So again, let's just see if that's the same thing that happens. So again, it's like, you look at people and you understand they want a raise. But my God, can we really afford as a country to just give an industry a 77% raise across the board? Can we agree as a country to just, make it where companies can't use automation, can't move forward? You know what that's going to equate to? That's going to equate to a situation where going forward, as the demands increase, the output's going to decrease. Because if all of a sudden there's an automation system that goes out and they're not allowed to replace it, or they have to keep it at a dumb level where they can't expand on that, God, that just sounds like a real problem waiting to happen. There's always a cause and effect. Your employer cannot give everybody a 77% raise without prices going through the roof. Whenever prices go through the roof, we end up finding out that the employer doesn't pay shit. It gets thrown to the customers. So what's going to happen is it's going to affect the price of the price of anything that you order from overseas. Anything that you buy in the name of trying to save money. Because let's be honest, I think people would love buying American for everything. But sometimes they have to buy something from China. Sometimes they have to buy something from overseas, right? And if all of a sudden the price of everything goes up $3, $4, $5, pretty soon people are going to stop doing that. Now that might have a positive effect down the line, right? If we start making more things here in America, you might have a situation where it makes more sense to buy local. But I just have a feeling that even if that were the scenario, that probably wouldn't happen for 10 or 15 years, because from what I hear, and I'm sure you guys have heard this as well, we don't really manufacture or make that much here in the US. We outsource all that. We have for the last couple of decades. So, again, man, 77% sure does seem intense. I feel like every time there's a demand, it doesn't really seem realistic. I mean, could you imagine if every single person you looked at all of a sudden got a 77% raise? I mean, what would that do to the country? Everyone would have more money, but instantly, just like that, your money wouldn't go as far. So if you're one of these people in the world that's not part of that strike and you don't get that 77%, I mean, no matter how you slice or dice it, we're going to end up paying for this. And that's what's kind of crappy about America. We always have these situations. Man, I don't know about you, but usually when I want to quit my job, it's usually not because I want the pay to double. It's usually because I wouldn't mind getting an extra 5 or 10% raise. It just seems to me like they should have a little bit of a come to the middle type scenario. And again, I might be naive. They might not want 77%. The news might be misrepresenting it. But it sounds to me like they want a lot. And then, like I said, for them to attack somebody that was just driving in there. And the guy, it was really sad. The guy's like, man, I've been driving in here for many, many years. I've never had any problems with any of these people. And then today they bust out his window and cut his face like mafia style. It's like, holy moly, what are we coming to in this country? I just saw a car that had a brand new license plate, a paper plate, like they had just purchased this car used. And on the paper plate, it said 2005. It was a Subaru. Now, I know I've seen a lot of commercials from Subaru through the years, and they always declare that they're the longest lasting vehicle, that many vehicles are 10 years or older, and they're still on the road. That's impressive, right? But when you're buying a used car from 2005, and we're in 2024, and keep in mind, the 2005 models of vehicles come out in 2004. So when you're buying a used car, and you're actually buying a vehicle that's 20 years old, that really says a lot about the country, doesn't it? I mean, that really says that, wow, I think a lot of us are choosing to buy something out of absolute necessity than out of want. Because I can't imagine anybody other than a 16 or 17-year-old that really loves the idea of having the freedom of a car. I cannot imagine somebody openly searching for a 20-year-old vehicle. You know, when you start to buy 20-year-old vehicles, that's when a lot of times the air conditioning doesn't work. You know, every single thing on the car is about to become a major problem. So good luck with that. Hopefully they got it for a screamingly good price. So now it's time to talk about you. Shawn has decided to change his life, and Shawn, I bet you there's a piece of you that is so glad you did. Because let's be honest, if you don't start walking every day, more than likely you wouldn't have weighed in 23 pounds less. more than likely you would have weighed in at exactly the same and maybe even a pound or two more. You know, Shawn, here's one thing that you've never talked about. I never really hear you talk too much about the water or avoiding sugar. I think you said one of the things is when you do have a treat or a cheat treat, I think a lot of times you said that you just walk so much that you're able to overcome it. If you lost your 23 pounds and all you do is the 2/3 rule all the time, in other words, you never gave up sugar, wow, Shawn, that's even more impressive. That makes me wonder if you did give up sugar, if it would have been even a little bit more of an improvement, which it probably would have. But man, if you're no longer pre-diabetic, Shawn, we probably did add a couple years to your life. What a blessing. So let's transfer that to the other venters. Venters, Shawn is one of these guys that he walks every single day with us. What if we could walk every single day with Shawn and like Shawn? And what if we could get to the point where, just like Shawn, we're no longer pre-diabetic? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we instantly all had Shawn's lab work done, right, and we instantly had those same scores that Shawn had on his lab work, and all of a sudden none of us were pre-diabetic, then correct me if I'm wrong, but man, we would all be living 5-10 years longer. Now, I don't know about you, but that's something that if we had to put a price tag on it, I think a lot of us would be willing to pay 5, 10, maybe even more, tens of thousands of dollars for those type of results. Shawn, here's the good thing. It's free. Walking is free. Water, it's not free anymore, but at one time you could turn on your tap and get a glass of water for a penny. Why don't we do that anymore? Because we've all convinced ourselves that tap water is gross. Every city in the country says, hey, drink your local tap water, it's safe and inexpensive, and for some reason we all want bottled water. It would be great if Shawn said, not me, I drink tap water every day. Shawn, if you're drinking that tap water, good for you. Flavor that stuff with a squeeze of lime, right? But guys, this is serious. There's a lot of us that are pre-diabetic, and some of us are very, very close to developing full-blown type 2 diabetes. If we could change that in 60 to 90 days, or maybe start to get it under control in 60 to 90 days and then eliminate it in the following 60 to 90 days, then God, don't you deserve it? You know, we hear everybody saying, hey, I lost 5 pounds. I deserve this piece of zucchini bread. I deserve this slice of cheesecake. No, what you deserve is you deserve to be able to go to your doctors and him to say, you know what? You don't need to go on statins. You know what? You don't need high blood pressure medicine. You're doing wonderful. You just did something to extend your life. That's what I would like all of us to hear at the doctors. You know? And if you're like me, I've always been one of these types. I don't necessarily go to the doctors unless I need to, but at the same time, I do have insurance, I do have a doctor. I'm gonna go in there and find out my lab work as well. A lot of people would reward themselves by taking a week off, by starting to eat cupcakes and junk food. So my question to you, buddy, is, are you ready to go for another 90 days? Let's do this. Let's keep going. Let's make it where when Christmas rolls around, we'll weigh even less and our numbers will be even more impressive. Shawn, another thing you probably did is you probably lowered your chances of getting certain diseases and ailments that we don't even talk about, those unnamables, right, that nobody wants to hear. You probably lowered your risk all the way across the board. Now you can go to Mrs. Hayton and you could say, hey honey, look at what happened to my numbers. You've already gone on a handful of walks with me. Do you want to officially become an everyday walker with me? And if she says no, no big deal. There's probably going to be a big piece of her that's going to tell her friends, you won't believe what happened to Shawn's lab work. What better motivation do you need than to know that somebody else that was right where you are 6 months ago, that was deciding, hey, I need to do something about my health. He decided to start walking with us. And if you decide to start walking with us too, you're going to change your life. There's a lot of people around this country that probably did the exact opposite of you. There's a lot of people that over the last 6 months, they've actually probably gained 23 pounds. They've probably actually upped their cholesterol numbers. They probably have become more set in a pre-diabetic zone, right? What we need to do is we need to have a lot of people that decide, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna put my shoes on and I'm gonna get going. Right there, that is your sign that you were looking for. That was the sign. Now, if you're in the Carolinas and you can't walk, that is understandable, but if you're not in the Carolinas and there's not a bunch of flood damage around your home, you owe it to yourself to get outside and start walking, you know? And if you're ever in a situation in the future where you can't afford to go to the doctors, or for whatever reason you don't have health insurance, right? Then what you do is you owe it to yourself to be as healthy as you possibly can. And the best way to be healthy is to avoid the junk that we put into our body every day and move. Guys, moving is the key. Moving is the key. And then the craziest thing of all is when I tell you that you gotta walk every single day, you gotta quit looking at it like some torturous, tough thing to do. It's all about scheduling. Put it on your calendar, 7 o'clock in the morning every day. I'm gonna put on my shoes and I'm gonna go for a half-hour walk. And if any of you other venters have gone to your doctors and all of a sudden you're 10, 11, 20 pounds down on the scale, and all of a sudden the doctor's looking at you cross-eyed like, what the hell are you doing, starving yourself? You let that doctor know, I'm walking every single day, and you let him know that even though it might be difficult, he or she needs to tell every one of their patients that they need to start walking every single day. That's the real key to getting over these ailments. That's what gets me. Do you guys ever get stuck when you watch these other people trying to lose weight and they're all relying on a diet? And they watch videos like, hey, how to lose 30 pounds without exercise. Guys, if your first thought is, how can I do something without doing something? That might be a red flag, you know? I think the key is that we should not be afraid of diet and we should not be afraid of exercise. And the reason we are is because every time we want to do a diet or exercise plan, we go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. You're not a motorcycle, you're not an EV. Sometimes it's going to take you a little while. You have to learn to walk or to crawl before you can walk. And you have to learn to walk before you can run. So the key is baby steps. Don't try to start a brand new diet from scratch. Take a look at your diet now and try to eliminate the bad stuff. Whether you do it slowly or quickly, it's still going to have the same result. It's going to be a result where going forward, you're going to get progressively healthier. And if we look at our exercise routine the same way, that today, a 10 or 15 minute walk might make you huff and puff, and you're thinking, wow, just a 10-minute walk is challenging. Right? You sound like you're doing Lamaze training, okay? But the reality is a 10-minute walk today that's challenging is literally going to become a half-hour walk tomorrow that you'll find easy. And I'd be willing to bet that if we forced Shawn to stop these 10-mile walks and only walk for 25 or 30 minutes a day, I bet you he would literally be thinking, this is just too easy. I need more. I've already done the half-hour walk. I like to walk for an hour and a half each day. And that's where you know you've won, Shawn. You've absolutely won. The cool thing is, even if Shawn decided to cut his walks in half, his numbers are probably still going to improve. Because Shawn, you're no longer that 210-pound guy. You're now that 180-pound guy or 185 pounds. So what is our moral of the story? The moral of the story is this is the easiest weight loss plan and this is the best way to lose 20 to 30 pounds in the next 90 days. And if you don't think you're going to be able to do it, start it anyway. Because even if it takes you longer, me and Shawn are going to be here with you every day. And so are Mala and Lily, and so is Rochelle and Melissa Ann. There's going to be a lot of people that are walking with you every day, and we're doing the same thing you are. We're walking thinking, why is it so easy? What's the catch? Guys, the catch is you've been talked into doing everything but walking for your whole life. Now you've got a walking routine. And once you have a walking routine that you're addicted to, your health problems are gonna start being a thing of the past. With an asterisk. Sometimes we have ailments on the inside of us that even though we feel healthy on the outside, we do have some issues on the inside. So don't avoid the doctor. If you're doing better than ever, go see the doctor and get confirmation on your lab reports. And with that being said, Shawn, Venture for life, we are so proud of you. Remember everybody, Shawn's mantra is TWMGO, the walk must go on. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you tomorrow.